Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see about Sangagala Achimurai, that is the governance during Sangam age. Early human beings, when they lived in the Stone Age, mostly it was men or women who were the head of that team, that is the group. And since they were going in search of food, both men and women used to hunt and bring food, and they used to share the food among the people who are in the team. And mostly it will be the women who was the head, and therefore we say that earlier it was Penvadi Samugam, that is the ladies were the women were the head of the team, and later on only we have this Anvadi Samugam, that is the man being the head of the team. And when it was Penvadi Samugam, the food which they brought was not enough, and therefore what happened is they started doing agriculture near the lands which had water facilities, mostly near the rivers. And later on they started owning the lands, and at that time they felt that they should give protection even to women, and therefore they did not involve women much in agriculture. And not only that, since they started protecting women, it became Anvadi Samagam. And in this stage only, the women who were the leaders of these teams, they were made as goddesses, and all these Anangas were made as Kaval Devangal. And some people had men as their heads, and their ancestors were uplifted to god status, and such people only are the Nilakadavugal, that is the gods of lands like Murugan, Thirumal, Indiran, Kottravai, Varnan and all those. And many teams had Sivan as their god. And these heads only later on became Kadayelu Vallalgal and Kurunila Mannargal. That is dry lands, when they made it as their habitat, they became Sittur Mannar, and the small group heads were made as Kurunila Mannargal. And when all these small lands were made into one big land, they became as Nendargal. And all these changes did not come within a short time, or it was not planned, it just came as time went. And the Sangam literature was written between this Vendar governance when they were ruling. But even then, they have given us a lot of information about the Sittur Mannargal and Kurunila Mannargal. And it is said that when the Sittur Mannargal and Kurunila Mannargal were ruling, they did not have any written rules or regulations to rule, but they had their own aram, and according to that only they gave good governance to the people. But during Sangam age, these kings had beautifully and correctly written rules and regulations which helped them to rule the people. And at this time only we have poor people who looked out at the rich people and the kings to help them to live in this society. And it is in this stage only we have even Kalanjargal and Pulavargal, and we also have this Panarum and Patiniyum. And these people were taken care by the kings and other rich people. And at this time only we have this Varisai Aridal, Kuri Edirpapu and other civilization and culture started developing in the Tamil people. And in Sangam age we had kings rule, and the greatest of the kings were Sera Sola Pandiyargal. They were called as Movendargal, and we have a lot of literature and books written about them. And they were also Sitrarasargal under these kings. And these Sitrarasargal, the famous ones are Adiyaman, Neduman, Anji, Pari, Ori, Kari, Began, Ai, Nalli, all those. They were all Sitrarasargal. And when king's rule came in Tamil Nadu is not very clear. But when they were first called as Arasan also is under research. And some say that the word Kon refers to Arasan, that is a king. Because at the same time we find in Mullai lands, the person who was taking care of the cattle was called as Kon. And therefore, just like how a family started developing in Mullai land first, same way this Arasan, that is a person, the head being a king, also should have come only from Mullai land is under research, but many people agree to it. At the same time, when we see in Sera Nadu, we find the symbol of the king is will, that is bow. And we know that hunters only used bow, and those days the head of these hunters should have become the king. This is also another idea which researchers say. and the first son of the king only becomes the next king, and all the other sons will be called as Ilango, Ilangosar, Ilanjeriyan, Ilancheral, Ilaveliman, Ilavichikon. Ila means the younger ones. So they should have been given all these names. And from Sangam to Sera kings, we have this Marumakkal Tayamure. And whether it was there in the earlier stage, we do not know, but later on it should have come in practice. And according to those times, these kings, they gave good governance following the rules and regulations and everything. But even then, there were a few kings who were like dictators, and they misruled the people, were suffered under them. This we understand from a Sangam song which says, Kainil Aruthu Kavalam Kolline. And even Thiruvalluvar has spoken about Senkomai and Kodunkomai. So all this says that they were kings who were cruel to the people. And to help the king, we had ministers, and these ministers had many people to help them. And all these people were well educated and well talented people. And in ancient days, we have this Ainperunkulu and Enperayam. And about them, information is given in Madurai Kanji, Silappadigaram, Manimegalai, Perunkadai, and all those books. And in Madurai Kanji, it tells about this Nar Perunkulu, how it is formed and what is the responsibilities and what are the rights they have. But there are different views also expressed in different books. And about this Ainperunkulu, we find that they are Kaniyargal, that is they are Kala Kanipalargal, Padai Talevargal, Thuduvar, Otrar and Amachar. And in Enperayam, we have Karanathilayar, who is Arasa Kanakar, Karmakarar, who is sailor, Kanakasutram, who is Arasial Gajana Alvalar, Kadai Kapalar, who is a person who protects a palace, Nagara Mandar, people, the head of the people who are living in the Nagaram, and Padai Talevar, he is the head of the army, Kalat Padai, and Yane Veerar is the head of the Yane Padai, and Ivli Maravar is the head of the Gudrai Padai. And according to the king only, the people had their life. If the king is very good, means people were very happy. If the king is cruel, means people suffered. But most of the kings, they were very kind towards the people. They had Otrargal, and from there they got the information about the people and their needs, and they ruled accordingly. And to see whether these Otrargal are working and giving correct information, they had another set of Otrargal who will spy on these people. And when we see about Urachi, we find that in Sangam time itself we had Urachi, and in this Urgal, people will assemble in places called as Mandram, Podi, Ambalam and Avai. And in Podigai, Pattinapalai says that Podi was cleansed, that is we say mobbing, no? It was mobbed with cow's dung, and that is for cleanliness and for also to have a very neat look. And in some places these mandram or podi will assemble under a tree, and generally it will be a neem tree, says Purananuru, and other songs also says that. And this mandram and podiyal were among the people to solve their problems and give them a judgment. And in that an old person from that group will be the head, and these people are only responsible for all the celebrations and functions, and to take care of the needs of the people in that place. And in these Urgal, we have Cherigal. Cheri means a place where all the people of the same team were living together. And since there were no caste and creed at that time, people were joined according to the professions in which they were involved. Like we have Paraiseri, Parpanaseri and Idiseri. And then we have Nagarachi. In Sangam time, we have Nagarangal, and how in Urgal we have Suttur, Perur and Modur. Same way in Nagarangal we have Pattinam and Pakam. Pattinam is a place which is near the ocean, but it will be inside. And Pakam is a place which will be near the water body, that is near the ocean or sea. And in Sangam age, the cities which were very well developed way, Kavarimpu Pattinam, which is called as Pugar also, Kurkai, Madurai, Vanji or Karur, Musiri and Kanji. These cities were flourishing in their trade and in their businesses. Particularly Madurai and Kavarimpu Pattinam were well formed at those days. And Madurai, Vanji, all these places were well ruled. It is said that in Madurai the roads were cleaned every day, and the king's palaces were guarded with lots of care, and the people were also taken care by all these people, whether they lived in Chittoor or Perur or Nagaram. According to that, they were ruled. Like this, there are so much of information which we get about those days governance from Sangam literature. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.